opportunity. We're kind of switching gears here and going to be talking about Zika risk communication here in Florida. To give you a little bit of an overview, as a pediatric genetic counselor, one of the things that I did was help families to cope and adjust to having a new child with microcephaly or other birth defects. This was really challenging at times, and what we also did was try to help the families not only access resources they needed to take care of their child, but also access resources they might need to take care of themselves. They love their children, but there are a lot of challenges, and they sometimes had a very hard time dealing with all of the demands that come along with this. So I'm here to take some of my experience and talk a little bit about the importance of Zika risk communication. Also to talk a little bit about risk communication components that I think we sometimes take for granted, including the audience, content, and delivery. And also want to help us consider how are we getting the right message to the right people at the right time, and how can USF help with this? In my experience as a genetic counselor, I often saw firsthand how risk perceptions can really play a big role in decision making and in emotional well-being. We know that whether we're talking about the individual level, on a counseling level, or a population level, decisions are made in this space where perceptions and reality intersect. We see this in Zika because we can see concerns amplified for several reasons. We do know that it can cause very serious birth defects. And it's also a first. We learned a little bit already about it's the first virus that's being transmitted by mosquitoes and causes birth defects. Also, the first time that the CDC has issued travel warnings within the continental United States. And it can be perceived as exotic as well. And this can all play a role in what people end up doing. So effective communication really needs to promote risk-appropriate actions, because we really need to protect health, but at the same time, we still don't want to cause excessive worry or unnecessary action. We do know that headlines can often cause worry or concern across a broad audience. I know when some of these came out, people had some questions. Oh, we can't travel to anywhere in Florida, was some of the response. But really, different people in different places have different risks. And messages to broad audiences, unfortunately, can lead to actions that don't match the risk level and can cause unnecessary worry and sometimes even debilitating fear. In thinking a little bit about fear, I asked my son a couple weeks ago, he's 7 years old, so what do you think of Zika? And his response was, I don't have to worry about Zika because I'm a boy. Okay, so really the message that was getting across to him was that message about the risks with pregnancy. And if we're targeting those types of messages, that may be good. I don't want my son to worry about going outside and playing, but at the same time, there are things that all of us can and should be doing. And so we definitely need to send different messages to different people because there are different threats for different people and different audiences. So, message content is important. And who the target audience is one of the first things to consider when you're thinking about message content. So I do really like this message that was developed by the Florida Department of Health. Use your power, spill the water. And you can see clearly who the target audience is, kids. It also does some other things in answering answer some of the other questions that you really need to consider when you're thinking about the message content you want to send. What is the health risk? Well, mosquitoes. How to take action? That's right in the slogan, spill the water. Why take action? Well, in here it talks about mosquitoes can cause itching and cause disease and make people sick. Well, but really, what's the reason that kids are going to take action if they see this message? Because superheroes, and it's fun. Great motivators for kids. In thinking about some of the adult risk messaging that we've seen, this also gets across several of these message content questions that you should ask. I don't like it as well as the kids' message, but it does one other thing that's really critical when we're talking about infectious diseases. Where is the risk? Being a transplant to Florida myself, I think this is critical because I'll admit shamefully that before moving here, I didn't really know how far away Miami was from several of the other key cities in Florida. And I imagine I'm not alone. The last component that I want to talk a little bit about is message delivery. I think it's very easy to take for granted how much the delivery can impact how and whether the message is even received. So it's really important that we're giving clear, concise, and consistent messages to reduce confusion. We've seen how hard this is with Zika because so much is new, and all of these messages are changing. In fact, the message I showed on the first slide, and in fact, Zika harmless except in pregnancy, we're finding that's not really the case. And these messages keep changing. And that makes it hard not only for us up here and all these experts, but imagine what it does for our general public. So, in talking a little bit about my son, it really bothered me that he wasn't worried about this. So I was thinking, okay, surely we're getting the message across, aren't we, about the standing water? But less than 2 weeks ago, our neighbor had this awful standing water over in a little bucket near our property line. So what did I do? Well, I went and spilled the water. This would have been a great teaching moment for my son. He didn't happen to be with me at the time. But when we recently were supposed to decide on a community service project as part of my son's school, we decided, oh, this is great. We can help spread this message about spilling the water. And one of the things we really liked about that is, yeah, our son can help spread that message. I think that a lot of people would be willing to listen to a child if he says, I'm doing a community service project, here's what it is and what it's all about. I don't know that, they'll see, he won't be an expert, but they have no reason to mistrust his motivations because he's just a kid. This is really important when we're talking about risk communication in terms of who is delivering the message and is there trust there and two-way communication. Messengers can build trust. It may take time, but we build trust by being first, being right, being credible, expressing empathy, and showing respect. Because after all, until people know you care, they won't care what you know. And with that, I want to end by talking a little bit about how much USF has faculty that are credible and caring experts. Some of the faculty we have seen are experts in infectious diseases and mosquito control. We've also seen a lot of expertise here in healthcare delivery with patients. We also have expertise here in birth defect surveillance. And we have a lot of other expertise in building community partnerships, in helping to educate the public, and in delivering some of these messages that I talked about today. I really applaud all of you for being here today to open up this discussion of how we can address these issues. And I look forward to our discussion in a little bit after our next speaker. Thank you.